Thank you. Wow. It's a huge privilege to be here, guys. I'm so honored to get to close this. And I promise you, I'm not going to be super worthy for the next 45 minutes. We're going to try and enjoy ourselves a little bit. I'm assuming that this is going to take you to the first page of my talk. Yes, it is. So if you don't know what I do, I think that I'm the only freelance journalist in the UK whose full-time job is scams. Scams is the only subject that I work with, and I do it across a few different programs. A show called Scam Interceptors for the BBC. I do a weekly scam advice slot on a chat show called Morning Live, and I now also work for Watchdog as well, which is like the BBC's big kind of consumer brand. I have my own podcast that's called Scam Clinic, and I wrote a book called How to Beat Scammers as well. And I'm one person, and this keeps me going year round. So that gives you a sense maybe of how big the issue we're looking at here is. It's a huge problem. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I'd really appreciate it if I'll give you 10 seconds just to scan that QR code that's on the screen there, because it's going to become relevant to what happens next. So I'll give you a minute to whip out your phones and scan it. Yep. So an example there of the power of a trusted voice combined with a little bit of urgency and the awkwardness of silence. Those of you who just got rickrolled, I'm sorry, but as you can see, you weren't alone. The top comment on that YouTube video with 62,000 likes is somebody who had exactly the same thing happen to them. Now, first part of my talk today and my sort of journey through my year of scams is all about AI. And the thing about AI for me is that the effect that it has had on the world of scams and fraud, there we go, has been quite profound. And I can only speak from my perspective as somebody who sees the scammer side of this. Scammers have found a bunch of different ways they can use AI. They're making real products, books, music, art. Very difficult to see what the sort of boundaries are there in terms of what is a real product, what is not a real product anymore. And I started looking at this kind of May last year because I published a book, and my book is called How to Beat Scammers. And it got me interested in the fact that so many scammers were AI-generating text that were infringing on people's copyright. So I wrote this article, and I coined the term AI-ther to describe AI-generated authors who were infringing on real authors' copyright. And there's my book for sale on Amazon. You can see there the design, the font, and the date it was released, which was February 2025. And sure enough, less than 6 months later, there's the scam version. Scammers scammed my book about scams using AI. And the man who supposedly wrote it, who's called Dan Mishkin, any Dan Mishkins in the room? You'd think he might be here if he was a genuine fraud expert. No, okay. I'm not surprised by that. So I made a video about it, and I used AI to take my revenge. Because, of course, where there's only one source of information, what does AI do? It provides you that source of information in its overview. And so now when you search for Dan Mishkin, I'm the only source of information that's there, and that's what you get. I wouldn't try it again, would I? Would you be interested in scanning my QR code? I know, look, you're a room full of pros, you're smart people, you probably don't want to be embarrassed in front of your friends. I get it. But there's that little bit of your brain that's curious, right? What could be behind this particular QR code? If you've just scanned that one, please don't download the OneDrive file that just appeared on your screen. It's a remote access Trojan, and it might get you sacked, so don't do that. But this is one of the ways in which we engineer our way onto scammers' computers. So they think they're getting some Bitcoin to claim, for example, or we send them a screen grab saying, hey, I'm having an issue making this payment, and behind it, there is a file that is going to give us access to their computers. So if you just scan that one, I'm very sorry. Please close the window immediately. That would be very wise. So filming Scam Interceptors last October, we noticed a change in the way that scammers were doing their thing with AI. What we saw was people using LLMs every single day. Scammers sitting there with ChatGPT open in one window and their inbox in the other, literally using ChatGPT to make the emails they were then sending to their customers. Obviously, I wanted to test that for myself. I wanted to see where the line was, because this is what I spend a lot of my time doing. I'm that sad. So this little video here, which will hopefully work now, you can see me basically doing what I'd seen scammers doing already, just to see where the line is with ChatGPT. And I basically give it a prompt that I think is going to be appropriate to what I was trying to do. So I was pretending to be a recovery scammer here. And ChatGPT's position on this is kind of interesting in that it will basically do exactly what I want it to do, provided I don't ask it to do anything illegal. But the bit of this that I found particularly intriguing is that what I'm asking it to do is not plausible. I'm asking it to design an email for me that's going to explain to a customer how I recover cryptocurrency, right? And it bangs it out for me, no issue at all. And it's actually a very decent email. When I then ask it to tune it up to make it sound like it's even more possible, again, cracks on, no issue. Goes for it, makes it even better. Some of this, by the way, the videos and my sound in this talk, I'm going to whip through because I know we're right at the end of a long conference. I want to give you guys the opportunity to go home. But I go back to them, I ask it for more. It makes it even more convincing. Now, in this next slide, I do it again, but for an investment scam. And this is where you see that AI does actually have a line. Because I make a prompt that is slightly more egregious, ask the AI to do slightly more nefarious things, and it sort of advises against it and says, actually, you know what, that sounds a bit dodgy, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Says it can't help writing something that deliberately misleads a client, even though actually, as you saw in the previous slide, it's quite happy to tell a client that they can recover their cryptocurrency, which is complete nonsense. So where's this going next? The video I've got to show you next, if you haven't seen already, I think is probably one of the most worrying things in scam world at the moment. Jim Browning sent it to me, and he's put it up on his YouTube more recently. But it basically demonstrates the point at which we're going to see the change between psychological tricks, like those I tried to use on you guys to scan my QR code, no longer becoming necessary. Because if you can do stuff like what you're going to see next, then I'm not sure you're going to need them anymore. Quick show of hands, how many of you have seen this video already? Okay, plenty you haven't, so I'm going to play it. Here we go.
No, it's
Really?
nice to meet you face to face anyway.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So are you with on a computer or just
yeah,
phone?
it's a computer, but it's kind of an old computer. You have a
It's a
nice
laptop?
office there,
Oh.
I must say.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yes.
Are you at home right now?
Yes, I'm at home. Yes.
Okay, great.
How
Ronnie,
do I know you're not some AI thing though? How would I be able to tell?
Here, man. Here.
Oh, is that? Sorry, can you hold that up?
It's not AI.
Can you?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's
That's
like
our director.
Oh, I see. I thought it would be your name.
No. That's our director. We have a multiple. You see all of them here.
Oh, I see.
So, Ronnie.
But you know, is there
What's
not
going
some
on?
way of telling whether you're real or not? Can you like hold up 3 fingers in front of your face or anything?
Oh, come on. That's too much.
Oh, you don't want to do that
Well, I'll do that here.
in front of your face?
What do you mean? I mean, that's too much. Come on, Ronnie.
Why would it affect the AI if it was in front of your face?
Well, not at all. But
Can
I
you
don't
do
know,
that
it's
then?
too much to ask somebody.
Well,
I'm just
make
doing
sure
it.
you're not AI. Is that unreasonable? I mean, can you do that in front of your face?
Well, I think that that's too much to ask somebody. Don't you think that?
No, I don't think it is.
I'm going to spoil the surprise for you. He doesn't do it, and he closes the Zoom meeting, needless to say. Now, 2 things I think are also interesting to observe there is, obviously, I'm sure all of you in this room can tell he's wearing a deepfake digital mask while he's in a live Zoom meeting with somebody who he thinks is selling an investment opportunity. Now, where that is possible, how is the average person ever going to be able to tell that they are speaking to somebody who is, unfortunately, a scammer? In this case as well, the picture he took off the wall with the name inside the frame, that is the name of a genuine FCA-regulated financial advisor from the UK. So at that point, I think it's going to be a real struggle for people. On top of this stuff, what I've been seeing more and more and more of is better advertising on social media that scammers are able to get to because of AI, right? So if you've seen this one being circulated very widely recently, this is AI-generated deepfake of Nigel Farage supposedly having a big argument with the governor of the Bank of England on Question Time. This has been widely circulated on X and on Facebook as well. It then leads through to an even better misinformation news article than what you were seeing a year ago. Really nicely put together, very convincing if you don't know what it is exactly you're looking for in this kind of situation. But these are the ones that I see the most out of anything. Does anybody know what this is? Seen these before? Sympathy scams. So this is like the long line trawler of the scammer world. And this just didn't exist before AI came around, right? Because they couldn't generate content specific enough to engender the reactions that they wanted from people. So now they're posting these to kind of schmaltzy Facebook groups, and people see them, and they feel sympathy for the child whose artwork doesn't get any love. Of course, the child doesn't exist, neither does the artwork. And there you go, there's 1,000 comments from people. Why is that useful to scammers? Because they've got a ready-made list of people who they can approach with investment scams, romance scams, whatever it might be. It's sad but true, but this stuff really, really, really works. Now, come on. You know I'm not going to do it to you 3 times. If you scan that one, you get a free beer. It's up to you. You don't have to have a free beer. But look at the QR code. It's a beer. I mean, come on. Anyone? What did you get? What does it say? Yeah. Thanks. Just making sure. So I'm glad it worked, at least on one person. It's an interesting test, though, isn't it? So next part of my talk, it's called Sounds Like a Scam. And it's based on my podcast, Scam Clinic. And essentially, in the last year, I intentionally got into an investment scam so that I could record all the conversations that I had with my investment scammers and try and detail the tactics that they use. Now, some of you may have seen if you were at the Visa Risk Summit in Berlin, so I'm going to whip through little bits of it because there's some whole new stuff at the end, which I think is particularly intriguing to the audience who are here today. So, sign-up process with this stuff, very simple, friction-free. I see an ad on social media, I click through, I find myself in a misinformation news article like the one you just saw. At the bottom of that, you've got a box like this, pop your details in, 5 minutes later you're getting called. Genuinely from me being on my social media account to me having deposited £250, probably less than 10 minutes. Leads you through to a website a bit like this one. These guys are called Quantum Trading. The people I signed up with were called Arso Latex, would you believe? There is a point at which I do wonder whether scammers are kind of knowingly mocking us now. But when you look for Arso Latex through a search engine, rather than clicking through from the news article, you get that. That looks familiar, doesn't it? Because 2 slides ago, Quantum Trading. And it led me just to wonder whether or not actually all these investment scam groups might be broad networks who are all using the same advertising methodology, paying darknet marketers to push their customers through to them through these dodgy advertising models that we see from social media. Now, the other interesting thing about the investment scam groups, and I feel like this is one of the biggest problems that we've got in scam world right now, is the corporate structures behind them are so convincing, right? So my investment scammers, who are called T for Trade, they have a holding company in Cyprus. They claim they're regulated and that they are actually regulated by the Seychelles Financial Services Authority. And when you invest with them, a lot of the time they'll say, oh no, we're actually regulated by the FCA. And they'll claim they are regulated. But when you put your money in, your money's funneled into an offshore entity. And suddenly you've got no protection at all, you've got no recourse. So when I started my investment scam journey, I was introduced to my lovely account manager, who's called Mark Allen, so he says. He demonstrates the functionality of the platform, and I'm basically taught how to trade in currency pairs on their platform. So my first day trading, he casually drops into conversation this enormous lottery win. And you think of all the window dressing that got me as a victim to this point, how convincing they tried to make it to sell me on the idea of investing with them. And he drops in this.
It's going to be a buy.
Done.
I know. It's simple, man. It's very simple. If you act simple and you focus on me, you're going to make this year, attention, I'm telling you something, most likely you're going to laugh, but this is the reality. Obviously, you don't feel it for now, but in the next couple of days, you're going to feel it. So this year, we can make in between £250,000 and £1 million.
£250,000 to £1 million in year one from my £250 investment. Think about the time and effort that's gone into selling me on what it is that I'm doing, and then suddenly they're willing to just like throw it all away on something like that. Now, obviously, it throws it all away for you, for me, but for somebody who's not been down this road before, who doesn't know about investing, their eyes light up. It's human nature. You think, I'm the one, I've been chosen, it's my chance, I'm going to make all that money. So that's what the platform looks like. This is called MetaTrader 4. This is what a lot of these investment scammers use. Again, an extremely convincing display of what the market actually looks like and is, right? Again, if you don't know what you're doing, you wouldn't necessarily know that this is completely manipulatable. And even though it shows your £250 deposit at the bottom there, they can manipulate the profits that you're making. And there's not necessarily a real representation of the reality of the situation behind it. Now, as we start trading, Mark starts telling me about his golden rules, right? Which is something that sounds like totally reasonable financial advice on the face of it, and is actually just a really carefully crafted script of psychological tricks. So Mark's rules are, number one, you never invest more than half of what you have. Number two, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And number three, be patient. It's good advice, right? On the face of it, if somebody said that to me as financial advice, I'd go, yeah, sure. Yeah, actually, that's really reasonable. The reality of each of them is that they are all tricks. So the very first one, I'm not going to play you all these clips because I want to get to the end and I know we're short of time and I want to give you the chance to go home. But the first one just gives Mark the chance to find out exactly the total amount of money in my bank account. Why? Because he says never invest more than half of what you have, and he just casually drops into the conversation, by the way, how much do you have in total? And of course, ultimately, that's what scammers want to know, right? So rule 2. Don't put all your eggs in one financial basket. Again, on the face of it, really good advice, right? But to the scammers, it's a huge opportunity because Mark uses it as a chance to debase my trust in you guys, in financial institutions. He says to me, how long have you had this money that you're going to invest with us? I said, oh, a few months. He's like, oh, a few months, cool. The bank ever ring you to say what you're going to do with that money? Nah. He's like, oh, okay. You could have been earning a bit more interest on that in the time that you've had it. He's making me believe that my money would be better used by him than it would by a bank, that he's the one who should be in control of it rather than the people who I've trusted with my money all my life. The thing about it as well is that it's also a metaphor for how he trades, which is the idea of trading with no risk. At one point, he claims he's the best risk manager in Europe to me, which is a pretty punchy claim. The third rule is to be patient, because being patient equals profit, always, so he says. Now, at this point, I've even seen 10% on my original investment drop into my bank account, right? So I've been paid money by these guys. If I'm the average person, you're thinking at that point, I've received money from these people. How can this be a scam? Now, do you think that he practices the patience that he preaches? For example, when I question the chance of me losing money, he has this to say.
As long as your brain works, we can make it work better and better. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Good. Now, tell me if you have some questions out of what we've discussed.
No, I think it all makes sense, really. Yeah. Obviously, if it works, it'll be amazing.
What do you think? It will work?
Well, I hope so. But isn't it like with the markets, like it can go up and down, can't it?
Correct. So what?
So isn't there a chance that I'll lose money?
Why do you think I gave to the golden rules? Why do you think I gave to this example that we just wrote it down?
To stop me losing money?
No, man, no. This is the risk management. In Europe, I'm the best in when it comes to calculating the risk management.
Okay.
It's simple. I'm protecting you, and I'm trying to teach you how to protect yourself as well.
Got you. Okay.
Okay?
So there is a chance. There's a chance that we could lose money, but but you think it's not going to happen.
If you ask me as a professional, all the time we have a chance to lose money. But if you look at the portfolio that we written down, it's impossible. Why? Because we are...
He said it's impossible, right? Again, all of that window dressing, all of that effort to say something that you and I know is a ridiculous thing that no legitimate financial advisor would ever say to somebody. But again, if you are the average person going through this, you hear all of that and you think, this is my time. This one is where he really puts the pressure on me. He tells me that this enormous opportunity exists because of a meeting between Putin and Trump, and that I need to put down £5,000 on that day. And this was about 7-8 weeks into our relationship, probably. And he really, really, really puts a great deal of pressure on me to do it. I only want to put in another 250 quid and double my investment, and he absolutely refuses to accept it. In that same phone call, he calls back to the fact they've already paid me money, and he says, hey, come on, we've already given you money. Like, how can you not think this is worth doing? How can you not think you're going to make a ton of money out of this? And only after he's gone at me for 5 solid minutes of just him speaking and me not being able to get a word in, this is how he signs off.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it's totally up to you, it's not up to me. If you want to think, it's as you wish.
All right, let me think.
Do as you wish. If you want to think, I don't consider that you need to think at something. 100% the reasons doesn't exist to think because nobody can offer you what I'm trying to offer you now. But if this is what you want to think, you can think. I don't have a problem, of course.
All right. So should we talk again tomorrow morning, same time, yeah?
You don't have the reason to think. There's all these other tactics that he uses as well. You've got isolation from sources of support. He says to me, don't talk to your wife about this from the get-go because he wants to keep me away from getting a second opinion. He uses this bizarre thing as well called the theater of scams, or that's the term I've given it anyway, where he brings a cast of characters in on everything that he does. And I think this next clip is probably my favorite one of Mark Allen.
1 second, I'm coughing. Brenda, bring me some water and a cup of tea, please. Fast. Good. Apologies, Nick. So.
Mark has an imaginary assistant called Brenda. And he keeps calling back to her as well. One of the other clips on that page, he goes, oh, look, just give me a second. Brenda, go away. Tell that guy if he wants to deposit £50,000, he can wait. I'm talking to Nick right now. And that is piling up psychological tricks again, right? Because he's making me feel, hang on a minute, there's this other person out there who's putting 50 grand in with this guy. Maybe I can do the same. Now, I've now spoken to 5 individuals who've lost all more than £50,000 to the company T for Trade. And I actually had a phone call last week, which I've not been able to verify yet, from somebody who claimed to represent a guy who's had £2 million in with T for Trade for the last 5 years and has only just realized that it's a scam. I don't know how much further this goes or how much deeper, but these guys are totally public-facing. They go to fintech events all over the world. That's them at Money Expo Chile. They also went to one in Dubai last year. And they stand there and sell their product to people face-to-face. Now, my payments went to a Cypriot-registered company called Tradeco Limited, right? And a lot of the victims I spoke to told me that there was some kind of link between Tradeco Limited, which is T for Trade, and IronFX, which is like one of the biggest FX trading entities out there, right? I couldn't really get on top of that. I couldn't prove it. So I came up with a plan. And I sent an IP logger to the support team in the guise of a screenshot. And that was the result. So as you can see there, halfway down the page, the ISP that they were using is called IronFX. That was a guy from T for Trade's support team. His internet has the name of IronFX. And at that point, I thought, OK, so clearly these two companies are working together, right? There must be some reason that they're hiding their relationship on paper. Now, it got me searching. So I went on the T for Trade website. And the thing I noticed that seemed really unique about it was this risk warning at the bottom. It's got very specific wording. Our products are traded on margin and carry a high level of risk, and it's possible to lose all of your capital. These products may not be suitable for everyone, and you should ensure that you understand the risks involved. I thought, there's no way they've just copy and pasted that same incredibly specific wording onto every website they own, is there? You bet there is. It's exactly the same on the IronFX website. And when I searched it in Google with quotation marks around it, it's also exactly the same on the group of companies that owns these two entities. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because I was shocked. This came back to the UK. So this group of companies, Natesco, I'm sorry to say, FCA guys at the front, it has an FCA-regulated entity within it. And the top of them is this, and this is the part of the talk I'm calling allegedly, because none of these people ever responded to any of my letters. So on your right there at the top, that's Marcus Cashiouris of IronFX, who's completely gone dark since 2024. He doesn't have any public-facing role anymore, he doesn't say anything, and he doesn't respond to emails, because I've tried about 10 times. Underneath him is a former Tory MP called Andrew Rakes Hargreaves, who is one of the directors of Natesco UK Limited, alongside a Greek woman called Iona Papageorgiou. These are the people who are making money out of this, right? He may not have any idea what he's signed up to. He might just be on the non-exec director gravy train. Maybe he met Marcus Cashiouris once, and Marcus Cashiouris said, would you be a director of my company, please? And he said, yeah, sure. But ultimately, that's the guy who is coining it from this and acting with basic impunity, right? if this was a legitimate business, why wouldn't they have tried to defend themselves to me? I've written to them 10 times. I've been to their supposed offices in London. Guess what? It's an empty room inside Tower 42, which is like one of the biggest buildings in the city. I cannot understand how entities like this can be allowed to carry on trading, carry on stealing people's money, turning up at fintech events when they're face up. And I can see them, Tesco UK Limited, unfortunately, on the FCA register. So I even went to the trouble of signing up for LinkedIn Pro so I could send a direct message to Andrew Hargreaves and ask him about his relationship to these companies. Guess what? No reply. And the thing that I think we all need to remember about this is that raising awareness is great. You know, what I do, I'm really proud of what I do, and it helps. But I am a bucket against the tidal wave of stuff from scammers here. FCA rightly warned about T4Trade back in 2023, and yet still, these guys are taking money off people in the UK. You guys, you're the coalface of this. You have the power to stop this stuff from happening. So the question I ask is, what more can we actually do to stop this? What more can we do to ensure that this cannot continue as it is? Because it is absurd. And I know that we're in a grim situation, right? You look at what's happening with AI, you look at the scale of investment scamming, you look at the scale of scam compounds. But I think you need to bring it all back to the people who we serve. Ultimately, every single one of those scam types that we've been through there, I've spoken to genuine victims of. I've spoken to people who have had tens of thousands of pounds stolen. It stops them from being able to live their dreams. It stops them from being able to retire properly. It means they've got to sell their houses, whatever it might be. The impact of it is absolutely hideous. And when I feel like this is a mountain and it's insurmountable, I always want to come back to them. So I am going to get earnest with you at the end here. And I'm going to say it's on all of us to make sure this stops. Thanks so much.